And welcome back to This Week with David Brinkley. Being that this is our first time in primetime television, we have decided to brighten things up by inviting our next guest to make a film of her very own. And on this network, of course, she doesn't have to worry about Mike, Harry, Ed, and Morley breathing down her neck. Ladies and gentlemen, from 60 Minutes, please say hello to Diane Sawyer.
I'm fine. How are you? Thank you.
You enjoying yourself? Why were you interested in making this particular film?
You know, I think journalists who come on your show probably look at it as a kind of day off, like a plea of temporary insanity, or the equivalent there. But I have to tell you, I mean, I really didn't bring a film as such. What I brought instead is a kind of reverie, celluloid reverie, if you will. And it was inspired by a letter I got the last time I was on the late night show.
Piece of fan mail of some kind?
Well, not exactly, but I'll tell you, it was a letter that caught my attention because it was on the official NBC stationery, and I'll tell you what it said. It said, "Dear Diane, is a guy who dresses up in Velcro suits and spends network time on stupid pet tricks funny? I don't think he's funny, yet every night in that studio they laugh and laugh. Without that studio audience, he'd be another Mr. Rogers. Wise up, kid," it said.
Wise up, kid?
Wise up, kid.
Yeah.
The familiar here. There's a story under your nose. And it was signed sincerely, Bob Wright. Does he work here? Bob Wright?
Bob Wright. I think he's the new chairman of the board. Came in with the GE, kind of running things now, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, as I say, it caught my attention, but obviously it's not the sort of story that we do on 60 Minutes. So I set it aside, and still it kept haunting me. Until one night I had this dream that I had been assigned to investigate this compelling question. And I'll tell you, I knew I was onto something when I showed up right here, down in the lobby of the RCA building, and tried to get past the security guards to get into this studio to find out the answer to that question myself.
I see.
We're going you just can't go through our security.
You got something to hide?
But you can't go through. Give us a mic. You're not going through.
Had I really stumbled onto a cover-up?
Cover-up? Did someone say cover-up?
Finally, the guy who runs the NBC freight elevator agreed to talk.
They're his audience. I mean, they're really his audience. Come around to the side of the building after the taping, and you'll see.
Sure enough, every afternoon, the audience leaves the studio and goes straight home. Home, we heard, to Harrison, New Jersey. But when we went to Harrison, the local residents weren't about to admit
that the David Letterman audience is living in Harrison. And
We're not from Harrison. We came here to come to a restaurant.
We're meeting friends here at a restaurant.
Has the David Letterman audience ever tried to board this bus?
Well, this is my first trip over here today. I haven't seen anyone.
Why, did they do something wrong or something like that?
I'll tell you, they laugh at a lot of really unfunny things. Now, what do you make of that?
People like that should get punched.
The David Letterman audience is living right here in Harrison, right in this town.
Really? Never heard of them?
Never heard of them either.
Never heard of them.
You wouldn't be shading the truth on me just a little.
Oh, no.
Oh,
no.
Of all people, we would never do that.
I would probably know about it, but I never heard of them living here.
Did this guy really think he could fool 60 Minutes?
Whoops. Sorry. Wrong story.
Call it a reporter's instinct, but something led me to this house on a quiet, tree-lined street. Ridiculous as it seemed, I was sure Letterman's studio audience lived here. Even my gaffer, Morty Gorowitz, sensed that our quarry was close at hand.
Hey, Diane, look at this.
We waited. Finally, the search paid off. It was the Letterman audience out walking its dog. We followed them to the park. They relaxed with a little frisbee. We even caught them practicing a stupid audience trick. I was ready for the confrontation.
All right, it's what everybody really wants to know. Why do you laugh at David Letterman? You being paid? Somebody pay you to laugh at David Letterman? Well, tell me this. When did you start laughing? When was the first time that you remember laughing at David Letterman? Oh, come on, you all. This hasn't happened to me since about 2 weeks ago in Terre Haute. Asbury Park? Billings, Montana!
For the first time, I knew how Letterman felt. It was so easy, the mindless laughter, the eager applause. How could I possibly go back to 60 Minutes without them?
Boy, did you ever wonder why some people always have to be the center of attention?
Well, that was very nice.
The truth is out.
Yeah. Did you enjoy doing that? Was that fun for you?
It really was. As I say, it was a kind of holiday for a holiday weekend.
Now, did you have trouble getting those people to cooperate?
Well, I think I mentioned before, one of the most fascinating things to me is the absolute politeness with which people treat ridiculous questions. And we walked up in Harrison, New Jersey, we walked up to these people literally on the street and asked them this absurd question, and they all treat you as if you're rational.
The sisters were very nice.
That's right.
And what, since it is kind of the holiday season now, what was the line the guy sitting on the step said, somebody like that ought to be punched?
Yes, that's basically
and that
what
was
he
cute.
said.
I enjoyed
that. In fact,
that.
you know, the only people we worried about getting cooperation from were the security guards. Namely, we wanted to make sure that they felt free to be as rude as they would normally be, we assume.
Those were the actual guys who work here at NBC?
The actual guys,
How did
yes.
you do that?
So I have to say it was a bit of a trick. We called over before we came and we said, this is the head of security at NBC and there's a crew coming over from 60 Minutes. Do not let them in, whatever. Don't let them upstairs.
Thank you very much, Diane. Come back again. We certainly appreciate it. We'll pause here for station identification. We'll be back.